Greetings and welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand Show number 134, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios in downtown Wheeling here on another weird weather day. Little rainy, little hot, little gloomy here and there. Every couple of minutes it changes out there. So hopefully you're staying cool, staying dry. Hopefully no more flash flooding, although we got some warnings in the mix for the area right now. Looks like over on the Ohio side of the river for the most part. But best wishes out to everybody who's had a really rough summer of weather thus far. Good to be back here with you on the Watchdog Network, getting you ready for another exciting weekend of sports. And I got to tell you, it's I took it on the chin a little bit today in tennis, which we'll recap a little bit there, and some soccer as well. But overall, I got to tell you, this is an underrated time of the year. You got these tournaments going on in soccer. You got this wonderful tennis tournament going on. So it gives you a lot of things to get you through the day, whatever you may be doing career-wise. Or if you're just off for the summer, even better. You can sit in your living room and watch a couple of things on multiple TVs and enjoy some AC and watch some really good soccer and some great tennis. So exciting stuff going on. You got the Club World Cup semifinal. It should be billed like a final with PSG and Real Madrid right now going on. Real Madrid taking it on the chin themselves here, down 3-0 in that match. And then you got France and Wales in the Euros, European Championships for the women going on right now. And you just had the tennis conclude. So really great sporting days here during the July part of this summer, early July, and we get some golf coming up here to talk about, some good golf tournaments on the horizon. So lots out there. If you're sick of baseball, plenty of other stuff. You got Canadian football cranking up. You got Big Three basketball. We got AFL, of course, and then, as I mentioned, tennis and soccer, and can't forget about racing. So we're going to touch on all that. We had a really good week last week for Bettor's Last Stand, up 61 units, more than 61, actually 61.25 units. So really good performance out of us. I mean, whenever you're going to be up 60 units, if you take whatever your unit is, $10 or $100, that's significant. So we had a really good weekend. Lots out there. We actually left some stuff on the table too. We had a tough golf beat, which we'll I guess I'm not going to revisit it too much, but if it goes into bad beats, maybe it is. Grillo played a really good fourth round and was denied. He had plenty of opportunities to win this tournament within the 72 holes, but he could not do it, so that one hurt a little bit. He lost in a playoff to Brian Campbell, so we had a nice 50-1 ticket on Grillo that we couldn't cash. We did get a top 10 and a top 20 with him, which both paid out, I think, combined and probably almost close to $5. So nonetheless, kept our golf decent. We were at minus 0.7 units, so about 70 cents if you're breaking it down to $1. So down 0.7 in golf. That saved us because we weren't very good with a lot of the other guys. AFL continue the hot run there. 12-5, 70% last week. 79-50, 62% since early May when I headed out on vacation. We've been 79-50 since then. I got to stay up and watch a lot of AFL more than I even usually do. So it was a good time to scout teams and get to see teams that I don't always get to see. I catch as many games as I can. I usually catch probably 4 or 5 a week, but when I was on vacation, I was able to go and watch like almost all 8 matches every week, or 9 even. So that was good. Good stuff there. Hopefully I can keep that edge. But again, 12-5 last week, 79-50, 62% run since May. And we'll try to keep it going. CFL. We debuted our CFL last week. First picks of the year, and 3-1. Or maybe it was the second week we did. But the first official ones that we talked about on the show. So 3-1 last week, off to a very good start. Had a couple tough breaks in a game that we had it over, and it ended up staying under. Lots of opportunities. Just couldn't cash it in. But a couple other ones, cigar smokers. You could have had like a cigar lit in the first quarter on a couple of these with the overs with the CFL, and we'll get into that, what I like this week as far as that goes, and what I'm noticing as a trend in the CFL, and it is not a good trend. And by week 6, you would think some of this would start to get worked out, but it wasn't worked out in week 5, so I don't know why it's going to be any better this week. NASCAR, back to reality. Had the Chase Elliott win a couple weeks ago. Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick. We run second and third in Chicago. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen at a short price gets the job done, but we had the second and third place guys. We were down 2 units in NASCAR overall. Thanks to those guys, they kept us respectable. F1, we had the plus 105 winner with a Brit win, and it was Lando Norris. And I will say, when we get to the racing portion of this, we'll talk more about it. Really rough penalty on Oscar Piastri, and kind of disappointed, and I I wagered on him after qualifying, and kind of disappointed they didn't get the win. He was by far the best car and the best racer, but Lando Norris wins the race after a 10-second penalty. So down 1.2 units in F1. Again, not terrible, but not good. IndyCar is where we got it back in racing though this week. Scott Dixon coming from the 9th spot gets the job done at 14-1. We talked about him, gave him out on the show last week, so a good winner there. And it's nice to see somebody other than Alex Palou win a race. And Colton Herta ran 4th. We were up 17.25 in the IndyCar last week, and they got a doubleheader at Iowa. So last year we swept it at Iowa, so we'll see if we can do that again this year. That's the troublesome part, but we'll see if we can keep it going. Soccer, 31-12-2 last week, 69%, so just south of 70% there. Really good in soccer again, 6-0-2 in the Club World Cup, up over 7 units, 6-2 in the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF Gold Cup, including the winner outright on Mexico, up 4.25 units there, and then the Women's Euros to this point. Now, we did get beat, I don't remember if I gave out over today or not. Maybe 1-1 on the day, but off to a decent start here with France leading 3-1. 19-10-2 in the Women's Euros, up 10.75 units. And we got plenty of futures out there as well, still live with Germany coming back yesterday, getting a big victory, which we really need. Tennis, 35-23-1 last week, 60%, 17.35 units to the good. I got to say, This is one of the better weeks that we've had in across all the sports in Bettor's Last Stand. So if you were on with the tennis, the soccer, the IndyCar, not the golf, the AFL, the CFL, you had a pretty good week. It'd be hard for you not to have turned a profit if you followed our plays. So a really impressive 60% start in tennis. That is not easy. 17.35 units to the good there through our match bets. Our futures right now, 4-3-1. We're up plus 405 in those for the men with Taylor Fritz, a guy who I'm not a big fan of, but I thought his draw looked very, very favorable, and he survived a couple of really close calls early in this tournament, including the first 2 rounds. And he gets the job done, though, and gets to the semifinals where he'll face Carlos Alcaraz. That's probably not going to turn out well for him, but he did his job for us at plus 405 to win his quarter. We got 8 pending futures in the men, and Novak Djokovic did win this afternoon, as did Jannik Sinner, so keeping our futures alive for the men there, and we'll talk more about that when we analyze the tennis later in the show. Women's futures, not as good. Definitely not. 3-10 right now. We got Sabalenka through. We had Andreeva through, but she got beat today. Gut-wrenching performance. Belinda Bencic, the new mother. Oh, my. What a performance by her. 7-6, 7-6. She beats Mira Andreeva. And Mira Andreeva, as we said on this show for a couple of years now, this girl is going to be an absolute superstar. And once she gets the mental part of it down and her body continues to mature, like she hasn't even grown up enough yet to know what her body can do. So once she gets the mental game, once she gets the body going, it is going to be the sky's the limit. And she's the only one right now on this tour that's going to have a shot of rivaling Sabalenka at some point. We'll see how quick it comes together. It took Sabalenka a long time to get it going, but she did it the right way. She progressed. She didn't give up. And, man, look at her now. She battles back and wins an incredible match the other day to get herself into the semifinals. So these girls, I mean, they're to be commended, how they keep the mental game going. They don't pack up and go home like some people do. They just keep grinding, and it's really great to see, and I'll talk more about it in the tennis, because this tennis is just such a wonderful sport. This Wimbledon event is as top class as it gets in any type of sporting event out there. But 3-10 in women's futures, so not great. Sabalenka and Andreeva still, well, Andreeva not anymore. So since I made this paper last night, she got beat today. So we have 3 of those pending. Probably not looking to do a whole lot in the women, but the men were very much alive in several future bets. All right, moving along, basketball. I had a couple of WNBA day games over the last few days. Caitlin Clark returns, and it wasn't pretty as the Valkyries take care of the Fever easily. The Sun upset the Storm today. I mean, you got all kind of things happening here. And then the Mercury and then the Lynx going at it right now in a game that may be a playoff matchup. It could be the finals matchup, because I was talking with some people today about who I thought the best team in the WNBA is, and I would say it's clearly the Lynx to me, but they're trailing to the Mercury. Mercury's made some moves here. They've got healthy. They've lost some players, but they've also got some players back. Mercury looking like they could be a team who could come on later on, but the Lynx, top to bottom, to me, still the best. I have seen some holes in the Liberty, and the Aces are nowhere near what they once were. The Fever, they got a lot of work to do, too. They are very inconsistent, wildly inconsistent. Their A game with Caitlin Clark is very good. They played decent without her because they really guarded well. Today they did not guard so well. So you got a lot of things to question in WNBA. There is not a clear-cut dominating team. So you can find some value out there, no question about it. You could have some upsets in some of these series for the first time in a while, and I think parity is the way things could be headed for the WNBA. But we'll keep track of those. Of course, I gave out some plays last week. BLS_PRP, where you can find all these ones that I've talked about in the previous shows. Of course, you can check us out at the Pine Room Studios, pineroomstudios.com, and Pine Room Studios YouTube, and anywhere you hear your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, what else? Amazon, any place you hear podcasts, you can check out Bettor's Last Stand. Go back and recap some of the plays that we gave out at WNBA. We did have an over in the Sparks, LA Sparks, who have really been a thorn in the side of the Fever so far. They get a couple wins in a week period there, so that helps us quite a bit. And then the bet on the Mystics or the Valkyries to make the playoffs. And I'll tell you what, the Valkyries look like they're going to be a really solid team. Could have got both of those at a plus price. Big Three. First time we're going to talk about that on the show. Of course, this is Ice Cube's Big Three League. And I know a lot of people don't like it. And a lot of people think this is some weird, I don't even know, circumnavigation of basketball. But it really isn't. 3-on-3, very pure form of basketball. It really, it makes you, it doesn't depend on sole athleticism. It actually makes people have to move and cut and move the basketball and really work well as a unit. And that's why I love 3-on-3 basketball. I've been a massive fan of this for a long time. If you remember, I gave out a ton of plays on the Olympics for these 3-on-3s. I enjoy this form of basketball quite a bit. It doesn't reward guys who are just more athletic. Sometimes you just have a situation where somebody's just bigger, stronger, faster. In a 5-on-5, that can be exploited when you're running up and down the court. Well, in the 3-on-3, not so much. It limits, it negates some of the athleticism and the quickness. I love it. I think it's very good. I think it's a great product. I think it's far better than the NBA. And if you watch it, I think you would agree. But a lot of people are just going to be closed-minded about it, and that's okay. But we're still going to try to give out winners here. You got Miami 305. Now, they renamed some of the teams, so if you're not familiar, go on the Big Three website. Check those out. Familiarize yourself with them. They're still the same teams. They're actually attached to cities now. Miami 305s in the DMV trilogy. These games all played at TD Garden in Boston, this being week 4 of the Big Three. They took last week off. It's Miami 305. DMV, that's the Delmarva. It's actually not Delmarva. I get mad when people say that, and I just said it. DMV is actually DC, Maryland, Virginia. Delmarva is not the DMV. So you gotta remember that. Delmarva is different. So Delmarva is Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, the shore region, and that's the area that I like. DMV, they can have that. Nonetheless, the trilogy and the Miami 305. Miami comes in 2-1. Trilogy are 0-3. Trilogy catching 7.5 here. The total 91.5. Miami's averaging almost 50 points a game in these 3-on-3 matchups, and the DMV team have all their 3 of their games have gone over 92 points. So I think this is a recipe for an over. I have a small lean to DMV catching the 7.5, but we'll go over 91.5 in the first matchup in Boston on Sunday. And then you got Chicago at Dallas. Really not at. They're all in Boston. As I said, both 2-1 here. You got Chicago coming in averaging 50 a game. Dallas comes in averaging 49. Both these teams played Detroit, which was interesting to me. Dallas beat Detroit by 21 points. Chicago lost to Detroit by 2. You got Dallas laying 2.5 here. I looked at Dallas's roster, looked at Chicago's roster, thought Dallas was a tad bit better. So I'm going to lay the points with Dallas at minus 2.5, and we're going to go over 93.5. These teams together right now averaging 99 points a game, so that's 6 points better than what the total is here. Los Angeles Riot, yeah, interesting name, against the Boston Ball Hogs, the home team here. It'll be LA 2-1 on the season, and they are minus 8.5 points in this game. Boston comes in 1-2, again catching 8.5. The LA Riot, interestingly enough, they beat the Dallas team, the Dallas Power, by 35. The Boston Ball Hogs lost to the Power by only 2. So I'm going to take Boston here, catching 8.5. I thought that number was a little bit high. Also like the over in this matchup, as both of these teams have put games up well into the 90s, and I think over is the play here on this one. So Boston and over in game number 3. And then the final game of Big 3, week number 4 at TD Garden in Boston. It'll be the Houston Rig Hands and the Detroit Amplifiers. Houston comes in 1-2, Detroit 2-1. And they both played the triplets earlier this year. That's the Chicago team. Houston they lost to the Triplets by 17. Detroit beat the Triplets by 2. I thought Detroit's roster looked a little bit better, so I'm going to take the 3.5 with Detroit catching the points, and we're going to go under 93.5. Both these teams seem to be a tad bit more low scoring than the other previous 6 teams. So, again, these plays, DMV in Miami over 91, Dallas in over, so that's Dallas minus 2.5 and over 93.5. It'll be the Boston Ball Hogs. We'll take them plus the 8.5 and over 91.5, and then we'll take the Detroit Amplifiers plus the 3.5 and under 93.5 from Boston. So that is Big 3, week number 4 in the books, and we will hopefully we can get some momentum going in those as we've had with some of the other sporting leagues that we've been giving out here on Bettor's Last Stand over the last 3 weeks. Again, thank you for joining us. I don't know why I said against, but we're not against you. We are with you here on Bettor's Last Stand, listening to us live on the Watchdog. We're not live on the Watchdog, but on the Watchdog throughout your weekend. We appreciate you tuning in wherever you're listening to us at. So thanks for joining us today. Show number 134 coming to you from the Pine Dream Watchdog Studios in downtown Wheeling. Again, recapping our 61.25 to the good. It's up 61 plus units last week. All right, let's talk a little bit baseball-wise. Home Run Derby and All-Star game coming up over the weekend. Or not over the weekend, early next week, before the next show, I will say. So I will have some plays on the Home Run Derby. I looked for some prices today, and I couldn't find a whole lot. So I want to compare those. O'Neal Cruz is now in the mix. I don't know what to make of that. Sometimes you think the home team is usually has a guy in it. Ronald Acuna, could he be live? I don't know. So I've done all right in this in the past, and we'll see what the matchups are first. That's key. So we got to check that out. So once we see what the matchups are, then we can kind of dive into that. So BLS_PRP, you can see our All-Star game and Home Run Derby picks. But recapping a few things that we did give. We gave out some stuff in baseball over the last few weeks, some teams that we thought were right on the cusp of the playoffs. Everybody was mad about Boston trading Devers. Well, so far I've heard some bad things about Devers. I've been reading some San Francisco papers about him, and there's some laziness already trickling into him. So have fun with him, Giants, which is actually a shame because I kind of like the Giants as far as a National League team that can compete. I love that ballpark. I love that city, minus all the issues with it, but geographically, it's very pretty. Red Sox plus 190 to make the playoffs now. They're just one game out. Remember, we gave them out over $2 a couple of weeks ago. Giants currently in the playoffs, minus 145 to make it now. They look pretty good lately. The Rangers now down to plus 350 to make the playoffs, just 3.5 games out. Now, the Reds have lost a little bit of ground. They have been playing decent, but just very up and down. 4.5 out, plus 550 to make the playoffs. The Braves, the one we didn't mention, maybe would be worth the play because they were, have a pedigree, but yikes, they have been a disaster. So tread lightly on the Braves. All right, keeping it rolling here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134 here on the Watchdog Network, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios. It's golf time. Genesis Scottish Open this week over in Scotland. And this is in North Berwick, I believe, is what they call it. It's the Renaissance Club. So can we have a renaissance here? We lost out on Emiliano Grillo last week. Disappointing. Got beat in the playoff. See if we can follow it up. Brian Campbell takes it down. And we go to Royal Portrush next week. So keep an eye out for guys who you think could be potential contenders next week, who are going to be potential contenders this week, because only Phil Mickelson's done this double where you win back-to-back. So if there's a guy you like for next week and he wins this week, you might want to get off of him. I'm just saying. It just doesn't happen very often. It's a tough thing to do. So guys that I was looking at that I thought were interesting, and again, BLS_PRP, you can find these. Of course, this tees off, 1 a.m. our time, 2 a.m., something like that. So be aware of that. It's going to be early. So if you're listening to this on a Friday or Saturday, if you want to look at some guys in play, but BLS_PRP, check those out on Wednesday evening. I'll have all these plays up each and every week. Ludwig Aubert, he was fourth here last year at North Berwick at the Renaissance Club. He's a good player. We know that. 22-1, and Xander Schauffele also 22-1, tied for 15th here last year. Thought both those prices were decently fair on those guys. They're not my top picks here, but I would consider using them. I thought the prices were fair on both of those players. I'm interested in Xander Schauffele next week, perhaps. I think he could be starting to round back into form, and of course, that could favor his game quite a bit. Victor Hovland, I was thinking about taking a shot with him, and I looked into some data on him. I like what I'm seeing. He's trending in the right direction, 25-1, so we'll take a stab with him. Robert McIntyre, he's the defending champion of this event. He is a Scotsman himself, so this is a big tournament for him. So we'll go with him as well at 25-1. Again, I thought that for a home guy, pretty fair price. Matt Fitzpatrick, we talked about him last week. His game trending in the right direction. He is 40-1 at some spots, trying to play his way onto the Ryder Cup team. Another solid performance out of him would be useful, so take a shot with him. Ryan Fox, international player, been very, very good, and he's sharpening his game up. He's from over that way as well, 40-1 for him. Aaron Rise had a great year. He tied for fourth here last year, 50-1 on him. Adam Scott, 50-1 as well, second here last year. Victor Perez, 125-1. Think he's interesting. His data over the last few weeks looks very, very strong for this course setup. Marco Peng, it's like Pengi, Penge, 150-1 on him. Like what I'm seeing out of him from a data standpoint, and think he could be in the mix. Sung J M, I thought this was very mispriced. Now Sung J M's a guy. Fast forward, rewind. A couple of years ago, this guy's in the teens every week. Like, he's a highly regarded player. And yeah, his game went away a little bit. He had a really good start to the U.S. Open and it fell apart, but most guys did. Thought Sung J M at 80-1. He tied for fourth here last year. Was very, very interesting. This is a guy who's a world-class player. He's got to get his game back into form. I like the way he's trending here. I'm going to take a shot with him at 80-1. Jake Knapp, we've been on him many times this year, 100-1. And then my old boy, Matteo Manassero. I love playing this guy in international soil. He plays very, very well over there, all across the DP World Tour. Even when he comes out here to the States occasionally, he's good. His game is sharpened back up into form over the last couple of years, about the last year and a half. He's about 125-1 or so. Can find him. He was 15th here last year. Just plays these international events so well. So Matteo Manassero will be another one too. Again, BLS_PRP. Early look ahead to the Open Championship. Again, I mentioned Xander Schauffele. You can find him anywhere between 25 and 15-1. I think that's a great number, 25. You can get that on him for next week. Bryson DeChambeau around 18-1. Still think he's going to try to bounce back. Terrell Hatton, 25-1. Still not sure about him. Brooks Koepka interests me, though, 45-1. I thought he played pretty good at the U.S. Open. He's had a few more weeks to continue to get into form, and he's still rehabbing an injury. It just takes so long for these guys when a body part like breaks down on them, their knee or their elbow or their back, it takes so long to rebuild the game back to where it was. So I think Koepka's interesting at 45-1. Not saying he can win it, but I think he's alive for a top 5 or 10. Cameron Smith also starting to get his game back on track. He found him at some 90-1s. His form improving quite a bit. Joaquin Niemann, he's the top player on the Live Tour. You can find him around 45-1. I'm going to take an eye on him next week. He's going to be a potential use. Cameron Young played very well at the U.S. Open, 70-1. I still think he's looking to bust through. And I'm curious to see. Louis Oosthuizen's form hasn't been very good, but he has played well at this tournament in the past. You can find him around 121. I'm not sure yet. And then Sergio Garcia, 130-1. I think he's live for at least a top 20. You can find him at a nice plus price there. I like Sergio in these events too. He's a grizzled veteran, and he's been pretty decent on the Live Tour. He's done well enough that I think he could contend here, at least for a top 20. So those are our golf plays, getting you ready for the Scottish Open this week and the Open Championship, or what the uneducated person would call the British Open, and they hate when we say that over there in Great Britain. All right, let's go through some bad beats here on show number 134. This is Bettor's Last Stand. You're listening to it on the Watchdog Network, Pine Room Studios, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Grigor Dimitrov, if you had him the other day against Jannik Sinner, you have to be gutted. You had Dimitrov, a massive underdog, almost a double-digit plus price. At some point, you can find him. I mean, I saw him around 11-1. I saw some 9-1s out there on him pre-match. And he jumps out all over Jannik Sinner, number one player in the world. He is taking it to him. I'm thinking, okay, he's going to beat him in the first set. Sinner will turn it on. No. Sinner's got an issue with his elbow. He's looking a little bit weird. So maybe this is the time Dimitrov can take him down. Well, Sinner's still a big favorite after this first set loss. Pretty decent favorite all the way through the second set loss, which was a little bit tighter. And then Dimitrov comes out with a hot start to the third set with a break early, and he's looking like, wow, like he might take Sinner down in 3. Like, this is really starting to be like urgency time for Sinner. And then Grigor Dimitrov goes to serve in the third set and blows out his pectoral muscle on his right side, and he immediately grabs it, and you know you're in trouble. And he tried to stretch it out, and it wasn't going to stretch because I think it was torn all the way. I haven't seen the actual final diagnosis. Something in his upper chest, and it blew out on him, and, man, he was in pain. Center was concerned for him. Obviously, people were, upset about it. If you had him, that's an absolute gut-wrencher. If you had center, which most people would have because he was a massive favorite, although he's just too big of a favorite to bet, you could have played a minus games, but if you just play money line, you're insane. Yeah, if you have center, you got a massive break because most places this would be a refund. Even places where he advances, you could actually have got credited with a win for it if you can believe that. So, yeah, if you had Grigor Dimitrov, if you had him to go deep into this tournament to beat center, I mean, that would have been his path. So you had to figure it's going to be a massive price. Yeah, if you had that, condolences. That sucks because he was the better player that day and was probably going to win that. I can't say for sure, though, because, these guys, these centers, Alcaraz, Djokovic, even though they're down 2 sets and look like they're buried in the third, I would never rule them out. But likely that this is going to go 5, obviously, potentially, and then Dimitrov's going to have a really good shot. But nonetheless, just a gut-wrenching loss there. We had some bad beats ourselves with some of the plays that we had in the AFL and in tennis last week. You had Hawthorne, 2 50-meter penalties to St. Kilda, who they were just beating like a drum in the game, and we had the under, and we got 2 bad goals late, like just terrible. 12 extra points that we should never have given up, and the under 167 ends up being a loss because the game gets to 168. So tough one there for us. And then in tennis, we had a few unders. We had one where a girl absolutely missed the ball. It was out. The player that we needed under in the match, and the girl who hit the ball out, clearly out, not even close, even to the naked eye by at any speed you would have seen it was like 2.5 inches out. Well, it got called in, and they ended up replaying the point, so then the girl ended up breaking her, the other girl, and then the match ended up going over because of that. So, frustrating. You have all this technology. You're supposed to get this stuff right. Bad job by the chair umpire. Was at least 2.5 inches out. Clearly out. Kind of messed everything up. But the girl ended up coming back and winning. The girl who was victimized by that ended up coming back and winning. But we didn't win because the damn match went over. So anyway, fine line on all this stuff. If you don't think halves matter on your points or your spreads or your games or whatever it is, whatever sport, if you don't think every little point matters, every little thing matters, you're wrong. This stuff comes back and bites you too often. Industry news. Oh, boy. The big, beautiful bill. We talked about it last week where you were only going to be able to claim 90% of your losses. Well, Nevada Congresswoman Dina Titus has introduced a bill that will restore the 100% deduction on gambling losses known as the Fair Bet Act. This bill will be presented for Nevada, for the state of Nevada, and Titus is urging other representatives in Congress to join in the common sense fix for their states as well. Let's hope that happens around this Ohio Valley and wherever you may be listening at, because this was going to be a massive problem. For those of you who didn't tune in last week, if you have 100K in losses, you can only claim 90% of it. So it's a big deal. It's really saving people money. It's a fair way to do. If you lose as much or more than you win, you shouldn't be taxed or penalized because of that. Professional guys were saying they were getting out of this thing. They were going to find other angles to play and bet and scour to go internationally or wherever they got to go to get a fair shake. So this has restored a little bit of confidence. So thank you, Congresswoman Dina Titus from Nevada, for starting this, getting the ball rolling on a potential amendment to the big, beautiful bill known as the Fair Bet Act. Let's just hope that all the states that have legalized betting, probably Illinois probably won't do it because they're too busy taxing you. So let's hope. We'll keep you apprised of how that develops with Congress. And for anybody who's not to make this a political thing, but I've heard people complaining about the big, beautiful bill. Oh my God, such and such happened already because of the big, beautiful bill. This happened already. This stuff doesn't even go into effect until 2026. So learn your civics first before you get mad about it. So I've heard people talk about it from all different viewpoints, whether it was the sports betting or whatever other political narrative you want to follow that's affecting, this, that, and whatever. Well, it hasn't yet. Come on, learn your civics. Learn how Congress actually works. They don't do a very good job. But when they do get a bill in, and I'm not saying this bill's great by any means, got a lot of issues, but it hasn't happened yet. So let's calm the panic. Let's press pause for a second and see how this all plays out. Last week we talked about Malik Beasley. Well, Luis Ortiz of the Cleveland, they're the Indians to me, but the Guardians for those of you who want to be politically correct. Luis Ortiz of the Cleveland Tribe, we'll call them. He is the latest pro athlete to be involved in a potentially scandalous gambling act. And this is a really bad one if you ask me. So Ortiz is under investigation from the federal government for a pair of flag pitches that were caught by IC360, which is an betting integrity firm. The review referenced pitches in select innings to be a ball or a hit batsman. So he comes out to start an inning. You can bet in between innings. First pitch of the third inning is going to be a ball. That's what he's guilty of potentially fixing here. So the games in question, June 15th versus Seattle and June 27th against St. Louis. These were really bad. The one was really, really bad. If you want to look them up, you can find them anywhere, YouTube, Twitter, wherever. You'll be able to see them. But the one he skipped so short, it was like, well, I'm trying to win this for somebody. I'm just going to throw a ball and act like I really did. Like ball slipped out of my hands or I lost my footing or something. It was a bad. He's not going to win an award for his acting. That is for sure. Very, very clear and obvious attempt to throw a ball. So these bets were flagged in Ohio, New York, and New Jersey. Those are the jurisdictions that took abnormally large bets on these flash bets. They're called. They're quick bets in between innings, letting you predict outcomes of hitters and pitchers, the very next pitch, the very next inning. So you can bet whether the first pitch is a ball, strike, like I said, hit batter, whether the batter puts it in play, whether he's single, double, triple, home run. You can do all that stuff. And they are questionable because you do have situations, especially when you're early in an inning, when you're not working against anything. I'm sure Ortiz thought, I'm doing no harm here. I'm going to throw a ball. It's not going to matter. I'll come right back, dial right back in. My friends will win money, or whoever this contingent is who pressured me to do this. We don't know that yet. It's still being investigated. So Ortiz is on non-disciplinary paid leave right now. So we'll see what happens. I would imagine he's going to be banned forever unless they find that he was threatened with bodily harm or family harm or something like that, which I hate to say, I hope that's what it is, because I don't want to wish anybody's damage to their family or anything. And there was also another situation where he actually threw a strike in one of these situations and screamed the F word in disgust, like he was mad that he threw it. He struck out Anthony Volpe and was not happy about it. So you got to watch. I don't know what all went on here. It doesn't look good right now, but here again, another guy throwing away a career to help out somebody. Again, I want to say I hope he was threatened, because at least I would understand it. If he's just doing this to make money for somebody greedily, it's horrible. Not the same to me as Tucapito Marcano, former Bucco, who was banned for life for wagering on over 400 MLB bets. And umpire Pat Hoberger was fired for sharing an illegal sports betting account with a friend and actually using the account to wager himself. Those are a little bit different. This Ortiz situation, he affected the outcome of a bet himself directly. It's just like the NBA guys tanking, faking the eye injury, trying to get unders, all that kind of stuff. There's no place for that. That's just downright wrong. That's just match fixing. It's been going on for years. It's wrong. And you deserve to be banned for life if you do that. That is for sure. So we'll see what happens to former Pirate and maybe former Indian Luis Ortiz in the coming days. Joey Chestnut crushes Nathan's hot dog contest as he returns. He was minus 2,000, but he did stay under his posted total of 71.5. He only ate 70.5, so he fell one short there. The Utah Jazz opened the lowest win total of any NBA team, 18.5. Wow. Since 2014-15 season, when the 76ers opened as a 16 win over-under mark for them in the preseason. Then we got some football stuff going on here. One bettor at DraftKings wagered $25,000 on the Las Vegas Raiders to win the Super Bowl at 100-1. Bet would play $2.5 million. Ironically, though, I looked at the Raiders' number. They're up to minus 120 at most DraftKings shops. So apparently DraftKings might be all right taking this, like having this hit, because they probably would be a winner. It might be this guy, and that's about it. And they may have so much on the other teams. And that's the thing about future betting pools from a bookmaker standpoint. You can really, really do well there because there's only one winner, and you're going to take tons and tons of money on NFL futures. And if the Raiders come out, a lot of people aren't going to back them. So if you got to pay 2.5 to this guy, but you got 7.5 of actual pool money in, you're going to do okay. You're going to be a $5 million to the good type of outcome for you. So we'll see how that one goes. I wouldn't expect that to cash, but You never do know in the NFL. You can turn it around quick, and they get a new coach there, so maybe they'll be a little bit better. Other NFL news, Jonathan Navani, the NFL Vice President for Public Policy and Legislative Affairs, has left the NFL after he served since 2017, and he's going to join FanDuel and become their VP for Federal Affairs. Now, there's a lot of lobbying going on at Congress amongst these sports leagues and these betting platforms about ways to obviously try to maximize and make more money. I think a little bit of it is to protect the integrity of the game, but a lot of it's just to try to make money. So I'm sure this guy's going to be heavily involved in that. But I did find it interesting that he would leave the NFL to go to FanDuel. So interesting stuff there as we roll along here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134 here on the Watchdog Network, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios in downtown Wheeling. Recapping our show, or our wins from last week. Again, if you're just joining us, we were up 61 units. Yes, 61. That was a really good week. 61.25 to be exact. Very, very strong numbers in AFL, CFL, IndyCar, soccer, tennis. I know that doesn't interest a lot of people, but these tickets cash just the same. And we're about to cash another one with France right now as they lead 4-1 against Wales in the Women's European Championships going on right now in Switzerland. All right, so we talked football, we talked golf, we talked baseball, Big Three basketball. Now it's time to hit on some racing. And we have 2 races this week. We had, what did we have last week? 2 races last week as well. So we're going with a different series, though, because we won't have F1 this week, but we substitute back in IndyCar for F1. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We did have 3 last week. We had 3 races. I don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah, we gave out a winner in IndyCar, so we damn sure did have a IndyCar race last week. All right, Lando Norris wins the Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, and, this was one that really just frustrated me quite a bit on Sunday morning. You had Lando Norris, who was not nearly the best car. You had Oscar Piastri start second, and Max Verstappen start on the pole. Piastri made the pass, had the best car, was basically going to run away with this race. They had an issue. There was a lot of crashes in this race. So you had several cars. You had Liam Lawson and Gabriel Bortoleto and Isaac Hadar. You had lots of crashes. Antonelli went out, and Colapinto went out. So you had some guys out with some issues. Well, on one of the restarts they had, and there was some rain on the track, you had the safety car out there, and apparently they're saying that Oscar Piastri tried to play possum or kind of chicken the start. Like he slowed down real fast to make Max Verstappen slow down behind him and then gunned it after that. I sure didn't think it was like that, but the people in the know say it was very dangerous. So they penalized him 10 seconds, which cost us the Oscar Piastri bet. But we did have a Brit to win the Grand Prix anyway, so Lando Norris gets the job done, but Oscar Piastri was the better car. One thing that bugged me about it is Lando Norris didn't even acknowledge that penalty won him the race. It did. It won him the race. He won the race by 6 seconds, so that means Oscar Piastri was 4 seconds to the good, beating him on the track. So very frustrating outcome there, but we'll take the small win there. We did not turn a profit on F1, but we will try to get back after it next time they are out there. They are in Belgium next. They are off this week. So Lando Norris gets it done there. Frustrating for us, but that's okay because we made up for it with Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon does the job. He wins over at Mid-Ohio. A very good performance by Scott Dixon. He started 9th, and he got it done at 14-1 for us. So he was followed by Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Colton Herta, and Pato O'Ward. We also had Colton Herta in that race with a good finish out of him. So a nice profit turned in IndyCar for us. So we were up 17.25 units after Mid-Ohio. Next, we head to Iowa. This is where we had back-to-back races for the last couple of years. It's a very strange thing. It's like this big Iowa fair, and I really don't know what the point of it is, but they have big concerts and everything, so it seems like a hell of an event. So you got races back-to-back nights. You got Saturday and you got Sunday. And last year, I remember learning a little bit about the first race, and then I took it and applied it to the next race the next day, and it paid off. We had both winners. We had Scott McLaughlin, and he led over 300 laps over these 2 days. So he is quite the guy to beat here. He's 6-1. I think that price is pretty darn fair for a guy who dominated at this track last year. The guy that we had the second day was Will Power. And Will Power had a really good car, and then he got caught pitting and a caution came out. So he lost laps. He was shuffled out. I mean, he was in the top 3, and he was right there. So I was watching that race on Saturday and said, oh, man, I got to play Will Power tomorrow. He absolutely has a car that can win this race. If he doesn't wreck it on Saturday, and he didn't, and he kept it out of the wall, and the next night he won. He led 50 laps. He held off Alex Palou, and he held off Scott McLaughlin, who led another 94 laps in that race. But Will Power had a really good car. So you can find out a lot from Saturday's race and get ready for Sunday. So if you don't have a good Saturday, you can turn it around. And again, I post these on BLS_PRP, so I'll post my Sunday plays after trying to assess what's going on Saturday. Now, this Saturday is going to be a little bit tricky because my cousin Allie is getting married, so congratulations to her and her soon-to-be husband from the Naval Academy, Conrad. They're getting married this weekend, so congratulations to them. So I probably won't be able to see this race. Now, I can maybe record it and watch it in the morning on Sunday, but I might be seeing double vision by then, so we'll see. But Scott McLaughlin, I thought at 6-1 makes a lot of sense here. I was surprised his price was that good. I thought he would be like a 2 or 3-1 range there. You got Alex Palou plus 185. He is the favorite. He's been dominating the circuit, but he's kind of showed some chinks in the armor the last few. He finished second here in the second race last year. The first race he was 23rd. He had a crash in that one. Scott Dixon, we'll run it back with him again. He's 13-1 this week. I thought he had a good car. I think he's an absolute almost a cinch for a top 5. This guy's just a top 5 machine. He finished 4th and 3rd in the 2 races last year here at Iowa. And then Santino Ferrucci. He's a little under the radar. We played him back at the Indy race. And on these ovals, he's very good. 17-1 on him. He finished 6th here at Iowa on the Saturday race. And then he was 11th in the Sunday race. So I think he'll have a car that could stay up there. I thought about Colton Herta, but no. Rinus VeeKay is a guy that play on ovals, but he's just been so unlucky. Joseph Newgarden, to me, price was too short, plus 325. He hasn't been overly sharp this year. I don't know if all the shakeups with what's going on there at Penske has affected him, but hasn't been great. Pato O'Ward's another guy who'll be knocking on the door, but I think it's as simple as Scott McLaughlin and Scott Dixon and Santino Ferrucci. And I guess I'll see what Will Power can do. If he has a car anywhere near what he had last year, he could be a player as well. So, again, BLS_PRP will have these posted for IndyCar and get a little scout for Sunday's race from Saturday's race of the doubleheader in Iowa. Shifting over to NASCAR now. Stay on the road courses. So we had a street course last week at Chicago. Shane Van Gisbergen gets the job done there, and he's plus 130 favorite this week at Sonoma. That's way too short of a price. He doesn't have the experience that he had on the road courses or on the street courses as he does on these ones. Sonoma's a weird road course. Some guys who are very good road racers have not had luck at Sonoma, and some other guys who suck at road racing, which I'll get to in our handicap, are decent at this track. So follow along with us here. And again, Van Gisbergen last week wins the Chicago street race, 26 laps led. Ty Gibbs and Tyler Reddick, 2 guys we had here on the show, finished 2nd and 3rd. Not quite good enough, guys, but we're getting there. We did have Elliott 2 weeks ago, so I can't complain too much. Shane Van Gisbergen has run at this track before, but not in a cup car, so how will that affect him? He did win here. I don't know if that was an Xfinity race last year or the year before. Yeah, it was last year. He beat out Sheldon Creed, Sam Meyer, pretty much dominated the race, but that would be expected against the Xfinity type drivers who are, again, not bad drivers, but not nearly as experienced as Van Gisbergen, who's been racing all over the world. Kyle Larson won this race last year. Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, AJ Allmendinger. Those are some names we're going to be focusing on because they all run very well here. The year before that, it was Martin Truex, followed by Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher again, Chase Elliott. I thought that Chris Bell at 14-1, very interesting. He's a road racer who's been very good. Not so great at Sonoma, but he did have some bad luck. It wasn't that his car was bad, and it wasn't that he wasn't fast. So to me, throw out the finishes by Bell. He did finish 9th here last year, so I feel like he's making some progress. The year before that, he just had some issues. Chase Elliott, 14-1. Again, this is a great road racer. A guy who has a strong average here, 11.1 average finish. He's got back-to-back top 10s here at Sonoma. This guy's live. 14-1 will be playing Chase Elliott. Chris Buescher, who's developed into a really steady road racer. He had a really bad week last week. Bad luck for him. Gets involved in some bad stuff there. Loses a lap and never really got back on track. When you lose so much track position, it's never going to work. 12.3 average for him. He's been the best of the averages the last 2 starts here. 36 laps led for Chris Buescher at 14-1 range. We'll be using him. Michael McDowell, who we had last week as well. He had a bad run. He had a great car, and it blew up on him. So 11-1 on him. That's a tad short tad short. I'm going to be trying to hunt out some better prices on Michael McDowell. Hopefully we can do that. Ross Chastain at 22-1 makes a lot of sense. You heard me mention he finished in the top 5 here last year. He was 5th. And then the year before that, Chastain was 10th. So 2 top 10s for Ross Chastain. And he has I would say a pretty decent potential with a 12.4 average of being a top 10 car this week. Kyle Busch has won here twice, 22-1, not interested. Daniel Suarez has won here once. He's got a 13.9 average. He just really has had some bad momentum. Austin Cindric, 80-1. I really recommended him last week, but his numbers here are not very good. He's a great road racer, but this is another thing where sometimes these guys who are really good road racers don't run well here. I don't know what it is. So Cindric seems to be one of the road courses that he hasn't had a whole lot of luck at. On the contrary, you got Brad Keselowski, who's normally a terrible road racer, but his performances here have been pretty good. He's got some top 10s. He's run steady here. His average finish has been good here. He's got some top 5s here. So I think Brad Keselowski at a massive number, 125-1. I'm not saying that he can win. He probably could, but will he? Probably not. He's desperate. He needs to try to win to get in the playoffs, so maybe some risk, roll the dice with some fuel, short stop with the pits, undercut type strategy. I don't know. But I think Keselowski could be live for a top 10. This is really the only road course that he performs decently at. And then Denny Hamlin. Last 2 times out here, back-to-back DNFs, he's finished dead last here with a good car both times. So one time I believe he blew an engine. The other time he crashed. So I think Denny Hamlin's live too at 65-1. You don't get him at that price. And Denny Hamlin, let's remember, he's not a bad road racer. He's won some races. I mean, he's won at Watkins Glen and all that long ago. I mean, he can win road races. So Denny Hamlin, take a peek at him. That's a giant price on him. Kind of a principal play like I had with Cindric last week. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Cindric. His numbers have been so poor here. But 80-1. But we'll be looking at Keselowski as a long shot. Denny Hamlin as a long shot. Ross Chastain, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher. But our top 2 plays, Chris Bell and Chase Elliott, both at 14-1 at the Save Mart 350 from Sonoma Raceway in California. All right. Moving along, Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134, coming into the final few minutes of the program. Time to talk a little bit of Australian rules football. And again, if you're missing these picks, if you need these picks before we get before you actually hear the show, BLS_PRP on X is where you want to be. You can follow all that. And again, thanks for listening to us here on the Watchdog. All right, AFL. This is round number 18. We only got 7 weeks left. Teams are starting to get desperate. You got a massive logjam. You got 4 games separating 2nd and 11th place in this ladder. Lots to be sorted out here. Brisbane at Carlton on Thursday. Brisbane minus 28.5, 168.5. Probably will miss this one here if you're listening to the show on Friday or Saturday. So I went over in this one, and I'm going to play the Lions, who are my pick to win this thing. They, to me, seem like the most complete team. We'll get to Collingwood here momentarily, and Collingwood plays early Friday morning, so you may miss this one as well. They are at the Gold Coast Suns, laying 4.5, 172.5 is the total. Collingwood's won 7 straight, done everything they can do, but I think they're vulnerable. When they get to the finals, I think they'll be a little bit vulnerable. 172.5 is the total. We'll go over there. So Collingwood and over, Brisbane and over to start it off. Then you get 11 o'clock p.m. start Eastern time on Friday evening. Adelaide Crows at the Western Bulldogs. It'll be the Bulldogs minus 8.5. The total 179.5. Adelaide Crows have been playing a lot better. They've won 4 or 5 overall, and I think they're coming alive a little bit. I like what I'm seeing out of them. Western's won 4 straight as well, but they played poor teams. 2 of the last 3 between these 2 teams have went under. I think that 179.5 is a tad too high. I'm going with the Crows plus the 8.5 and under 179.5. Geelong and GWS. The hot pick of the week is everybody picking Geelong to get beat by GWS. GWS has played pretty well. Geelong comes off they were off a bye last week. They cruised. GWS has won 3 straight versus Geelong, and they're playing pretty well right now. So Geelong minus 3.5 on the road here, 171.5. I'm not going to take it. I would lean to the Cats. I think they're just the better overall team, but I'm going to play the over 171.5. I think there will be points. Saturday morning, very early morning, Saturday will be the Essendon Bombers, 6-9 at the Richmond Tigers, who are 3-12. And you know how I feel about Richmond at home. They battle at home. They're catching 15.5 here. 163.5 is the total. Essendon's losing streak continues. They have lost the last 3 games by an average of 58 points, yet they're laying points on the road here. I'm taking the Tigers. I know it's only 15.5, and I know Richmond isn't very good, but I think they got one last effort in them, and the game that they could win. Essendon has been so unimpressive. We'll go under 163.5 and take Richmond at home plus the 15.5. Hawthorne at Fremantle, 6:10 a.m. Saturday morning. Bounce here. The Hawks come in 11-5. Fremantle 10-6. Hawthorne has won 4 straight overall, and Fremantle had their win streak ended last week by the Swans, and we had the Swans, of course, outright, who has a nice dog there to win that match. 3 of the last 5 under in this one. I think 155.5 seems a little bit low. Now, I know Hawthorne's defense has been pretty good, but I think Fremantle can surrender some points here. So I think Hawthorne's offense gets going on track, so we'll go with the Hawks. Actually, they're plus a half in this game, if you can believe it. Basically a pick 'em. So we'll take the Hawks to win the game and over 155.5. North Melbourne and Melbourne. The Battle of Melbourne. It's 4-11 North Melbourne. The Kangaroos against the 5-11 Demons. This is obviously a rivalry game. North won this game by 59 points earlier in the season. Melbourne's going to want revenge. I don't know. They're laying 26.5 here in a tie that they got beat by 59 in. Now, North Melbourne has a couple of injuries, which concern me a tad, so I'm going to go under in this game. I think it will be a little bit more closely played than the last one, but I'm going to take in a 26.5 with North Melbourne, the Kangaroos. The Melbourne Demons just aren't very good, so I think North Melbourne hangs in this game. They did fade last week. They were well within a striking distance and faded badly last week. Sydney, 7-9 at 5-11. St Kilda, it'll be Sydney minus 8.5 on the road, total 166.5. Swans, as I mentioned, playing a lot better right now. They've won 4 or 5 overall. They need this game to have a shot at the finals. They're trying to knock on the door, trying to get up the ladder here to try to get into that top 8. They need a win like this, and they need it impressively. Sydney minus 8.5 is where we're going here, and we're going to go under 166.5. St. Kilda's reverted back to their under runs where they're defensively driven and very poor on offense. So I think the Swans win a good one here. I think they win this by about 20 and keep the game low scoring because they really need the win. West Coast at Port Adelaide, another team playing very good. Port Adelaide. West Coast will never be accused of playing good. At least in recent memory. They are as bad as it gets. Port Adelaide's won 3 out of 4, and they played very well against Brisbane last week. They just couldn't get stops. They scored enough on offense. Their offense was starting to come together a little bit for the Power. They're 7-9. They absolutely need this win. They're going to get the win, no doubt about it. 37.5 seemed very low. West Coast, a complete train wreck. So we'll go with Port over 167.5 and Port minus 37.5 in this one. They absolutely need this game. So those are our AFL plays. Again, you can find these BLS_PRP. Is where you can catch them if you're not able to listen to the show in a timely manner. But again, we'll go Brisbane and over, Collingwood and over, Adelaide, Crows, and under. GWS with a lean to a lean to Geelong, but Geelong and GWS over 171.5. Richmond and under, Hawthorn and over, North Melbourne and under, Sydney and under, and Port Adelaide and over. Okay, keeping it rolling. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134 here on the Watchdog Network Pine Room Studios, wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Soccer, again, recapping how we did in soccer last week. It was a really good week for us. We went 31-12-2. These summer tournaments have been great for us. 6-0-2 in the Club World Cup, 6-2 in the Gold Cup, 19-10-2 in the Women's Euros. Not a whole lot to give you this week. BLS_PRPs where you can catch to see. It looks like it's going to be PSG and Chelsea. PSG probably going to be very tough to beat. Chelsea not going to really have enough firepower, I don't think, to be able to compete with them. So if you can find PSG at a small minus price or a plus price in the 3-way, as much as I want Chelsea to be able to win this match, I don't know if they're going to be able to. I think it's highly doubtful. Now, what kind of a match will it be? Will Chelsea park the bus, so to speak, and try to keep this low scoring? I'll be curious to see what I can get on over 2.5. That's kind of where I'm thinking right now. I think this game could be like 3-1 PSG maybe. It might even be 3-0, maybe 2-1. So if I can find over 2.5, that's a potential. But I think PSG is just going to be too strong for Chelsea. And we'll have that posted on BLS_PRP for the weekend, as well as our plays in the Women's Euros. We gave out several of those last week. And, you know, sometimes I make jokes about how snake bitten I am with certain things and how stuff goes. And we played Julia Gwynn from Germany to be the player of the tournament. Well, she blew her MCL out of the first game, so she will not be winning that award, sadly. Higher finish bets we have going right now: France over England. France beat them head to head, so we got a decent shot there. Netherlands humiliated today by England. Disappointed there. Germany to win Group C, looking pretty good. France to win Group D. They're 2-0. France to make it to the semis. That's on a pretty good trek. So we have some good things going here. We got Germany to win it, Germany to reach the final, Netherlands to reach the knockout stage. That's going to be a little tricky. Iceland, that's going to be a definite loser for us. So we'll see how these transpire. Again, I'll put these plays up, the daily plays, BLS_PRP. Can find all those each and every day in the Women's European Championships being played over in Switzerland. All right, and then to conclude the show, talk some more tennis. Oh, man, doesn't get old to me. This has been really, really great Wimbledon so far. We've had a great Wimbledon. 32, 23, and 1 overall in our match bet. 60% up, 17.35 units. Again, 4 and 3 in the men's futures right now with a plus 405 return. Taylor Fritz representing a good bit of that. We've got Novak Djokovic through to the semis again. I think it's his 14th straight semi in Wimbledon. Incredible stuff. If you missed his match today, oh, man, you missed a really good one. This youngster, Flavio Caballi, he's going to be a guy to keep an eye on. There's a lot of – tennis is in a really good spot right now. It reminds me of golf, but they'll do a better job highlighting their stars than golf does. Golf just – I don't know what – golf is just a mess with the LIV and the PGA, and just the PGA Tour just stinks. But the player caliber is very good is what I'm getting at. When you get these majors like next week, you got a really good group of players. Got a lot of great players in tennis, too. This Flavio Caballi, the young Italian – he pushed Djokovic pretty good. I mean, Joker just rations his energy out so well. He measures his opponent better than anybody. And if you don't know what I mean by this, go back and watch this match today. Djokovic is going about, let's say, 60% in the first set. And he loses it in a tiebreaker because he knows, I am used to playing 5. If I got to play 5, I mentally will outlast these younger kids because the mind goes even before the body does. And the way he gauges it, he doesn't have to go full force. Caballi's having to go full force right out of the chute. To have a chance of beating the best player ever, you got to go full tilt from the beginning. So Djokovic measures him, gets beat. First set, okay, I got to push the throttle hard. Djokovic gets it up to about 80, 85 in the second set, and he beats him easily, 6-1 or 6-2. And then it's back. Okay, I beat him, even it up. I'm going to gear it back, see what he's got, see if he can last. Well, Djokovic takes the next 2 sets off of him. Tight ones, but nonetheless. Caballi made him work, but Djokovic, people mistake the closeness of those sets in the match overall. He lost a set as weakness, but it's really not. It's him knowing when he has to put in an upper level of concentration and physical exertion and when he doesn't have to. And a lot of times he'll just outfox these people and make the unforced errors, and he won't have to use up his body. Now, he had a scary split there. If you've seen it, wow, geez. I mean, it looked like he blew out both groins. I mean, if it happened to you or I, we'd be in the hospital. But the flexibility of these guys is incredible. But I got to just give compliments to all these players. I mean, you had Ben Shelton battling, Jannik Sinner, who's injured. You had the situation with Dimitrov the other day where he was injured. But you had some great tennis here. The women's match this morning. Mira Andreeva and Belinda Bencic. Belinda Bencic, a new mother, coming back for her first major since she was become a mother. She was plus 165 today. She played incredible. She wins 2 tiebreakers off Mira Andreeva, who's arguably maybe the second. I probably have put her third best player in the world, but she's not even grown into her body yet. Mentally, she's still immature. She's going to be the next Sabalenka at some point. She's just got to get over the hump. Sabalenka struggled with the same mental hurdles early on in her career, and she's built herself into being the most dominant all-around player there is. But if you watch that match today, you can't say Mira Andreeva played bad. She played great. Belinda Bencic was just better and more experienced. She just made shots that you never would have expected her to be able to make. Then Iga Swiatek takes care of Ludmila Samsonova. Iga Swiatek is just so unlikable to me. I'm really hoping that she'll go out here, but I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty tricky. I think she's got a pretty favorable matchup now against Belinda Bencic, who's plus 235, Swiatek at minus $3. These matches will be done before I get to give them out to you here. So BLS_PRP is where you can find any of these time-sensitive ones each and every week, so be sure you're checking that. Sabalenka will take on Amanda Anisimova. Sabalenka had an incredible match yesterday, too, where she just gutted it out. Like, she wasn't playing her sharpest at all. And the Lauren Sigmund girl, the German, she's played beyond belief good. And Sabalenka, mentally focused, down a break, facing a chance of going down 4-1, and she toughs it out. She breaks, then she holds serve, then she breaks again. Like, this girl's turned her life around. And just watching this stuff, the adrenaline rushes and the swings in this tennis is as good as you're ever going to see. It's better than any other sport that you can imagine. So give it a chance. If you haven't checked it out, Wimbledon this weekend is going to be awesome, regardless of the matchups. Likely to be Swiatek versus Sabalenka. But Amanda Anisimova has given Sabalenka some issues back in the day. I don't know if her game, Amanda Anisimova, who's an American, don't be fooled by the name, she had the best season of her life. She's playing great right now. Can she push Sabalenka? Probably. This could be an overmatch here, but Sabalenka in the tiebreaker, she is just so darn good. I want to say she's like 14 or 15-1 in her last 16 tiebreakers in Grand Slams. I mean, it's just exceptional. I think the one time she got beat was by Coco Gauff in the U.S. Open when she got beat by her. But this girl is impressive on all forms. And if you want to watch some really good action, you're going to be checking out a great match regardless. If it's Bencic and Sabalenka, or if it's Swiatek and Sabalenka on Saturday, and then likely to you're either going to get Carlos Alcaraz versus Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner. I don't think Taylor Fritz, the American, has anything for Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinal on Friday. I think that'll be an easy victory for him. But Fritz got our bet cash. That's all that matters. He's just not good enough to beat these really, really good players. And you got the three best guys in the world, the old man, Djokovic, and then the two young guys, Sinner and Alcaraz. Going to be another classic, so be sure you're tuning in to ESPN on the weekend for these matches. It is exceptional stuff, and watching Novak Djokovic play, he just represents the game so darn well. Just a great ambassador, and I know he got a bad reputation early in his career as being kind of robotic and not having a personality. Well, he's really, really overcome that now. This guy is about as great a role model as you could have, and he is the Tiger Woods of the generation, along the lines of with Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal, who are the guys that were all looked up to by this young group of tennis players that are coming up on the men's and the women's side, to be quite honest. So those guys should be commended, most notably Djokovic, who is in his 14th straight semi at Wimbledon. That's just insane, beating Federer's mark of 13. But if you don't enjoy watching that guy play, man, you might want to check your vital signs and go to the hospital. You might need it. But anyway, Wimbledon has been great. We got a lot of live bets here still. We did pretty well in our match bets. Again, 35-23-1. We got we're up 4 units in men's futures, and we got some pending futures in men's and women's futures not turning out as good as we hoped with Mira Andreeva going out today, but that's the way it goes. Can't win them all. Again, we were up 61 units last week, and we'll try to improve on that again, and that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks for tuning in here on the Watchdog Network at the Pine Room Studios and anywhere you may be listening to this podcast of Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool, and it's not far from football season. So those of you who are into football, get very excited. CFL, I didn't get to those today. I will put those on the BLS_PRP page so you can check our CFL plays out there. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 134 here on the Watchdog.